Break out the brooms. The St. Louis Cardinals sweep the Minnesota Twins 9-2. How's that for an opening series? I'm Katie Woo. He's Bernie Miklasz. Welcome back to Cardinal Territory. As we record this, it's around 7:15 Central Time Sunday night. There are 4 teams in Major League Baseball who are undefeated. They are the Los Angeles Dodgers, the New York Yankees, the San Diego Padres, and just like we all predicted, the St. Louis Cardinals. Bernie, what a series for these Redbirds.
You know, it's never too early to win, especially if you haven't won, the past 2 years. Not really, 22nd out of 30 teams in winning percentage in 23-24. And so we were all kind of wondering, like, well, the Cardinals said the right things about themselves. We're all together. There's energy. There's enthusiasm. The team's close. The vibe's awesome. And that's always good to hear. But I also know that, there were like 29 other teams saying the same thing. So
right.
They really came out and proved the point. They really, I hate to use the cliche, they really made a statement that a lot of that talk in spring training wasn't just talk. It looked like a really sharp team. It looked like a team that was on point in every area. And we'll get into all that. I don't want to steal all the thunder here, but I was just kind of like, wow. I mean, it's too soon for me to say this team that was a transformation, but they weren't kidding when they talked about the way they felt about themselves going into 2025. They weren't kidding, at least for the first 3 games.
The intensity, I think, with this team was evident from the first pitch on Thursday. Sonny Gray comes in really the first half of the inning, 6 pitches, mows down the Twins. He knows he doesn't have his velo. Doesn't matter, finds a way to have like an easy breezy first inning. And Lars Nootbaar sets the tone immediately with that sharp single to right. Brendan Donovan, chops that one, shoots one just past Carlos Correa. Cardinals are on the board. And, it sounds a little dramatic, but I was like, wait a sec, that's a really quick way to start this ball game. And I'm intrigued. And all throughout Thursday's home opener, which I'm an opening day girl, we know this. I was feeling a little down. I'm not going to lie. It was the weather. There was no arch in the grass. Which, look, I know is a small thing, but it matters. And it's not the groundskeepers. Like they worked so tirelessly to make that happen, but the weather just made it impossible. I missed the start to the Clydesdales. That was my own fault. It was raining, so I thought I had time to go to the snack bar behind the press box. I did not. And I was just kind of like, okay, all of my favorite things about opening day kind of suck right now. And then the game started, and I can't tell you the last time I had so much fun watching a St. Louis Cardinals game. I thought that Thursday home opener embodied every single thing about a good quality Cardinal baseball win. From starting pitcher, finding a way to get it done even if he didn't have his best stuff. You had some great at-bats from Nootbaar, some great at-bats from the whole lineup, to be honest. Quality, competitive, very smart, very disciplined. The defense was off the charts. Victor Scott making a play, Brendan Donovan turning that double play from his stomach. And we'll get to this. My favorite moment was that Nolan Arenado curtain call, that insurance run, solo homer in the 8th. The way that opening day started, I think the Cardinals do a fantastic job, in my opinion. It's the best opening day in baseball. But when the Cardinals started their ceremony after the rain delay, they brought out Bill DeWitt Jr. and Bill DeWitt III. And the boos in that stadium for the owners were so loud. And I've never heard the DeWitts have a reaction like that. And I honestly think, just looking at the camera, that Bill DeWitt Jr. was surprised, just because it doesn't happen here. And the same can be said for Mo. He did not really have a rousing ovation either. I thought the Cardinals video tribute they put to him was nicely done. And there was some applause there at the end, but it was 47,000 people at Busch Stadium for opening day. And they let their displeasure with the ownership and front office know, which is their right. Fans have every right. If you're buying a ticket, you have every right to express how you feel. And then they got behind the club, and they got behind the players, and they said, if you're going to give us good baseball, we're going to get behind that. And Bernie, for the last 3 days, the Cardinals have given them great baseball.
There's no doubt about it. If I could throw something in about the booing of Bill DeWitt Jr. and especially, and I think people get mad at me when I say this. So first of all, if you want to boo someone, you can boo anyone you want. And this Bill DeWitt let this thing slide. And that's on him. The thing that was his baby, player development, he just let that thing fall into neglect and disrepair. So that's totally on him. And I've criticized him, as you know, many, many times over that. However, call me a softie, but it's opening day. and it's supposed to be a day to celebrate Cardinals baseball, the past with all the red jackets, the World Series trophies, the pennants are everywhere. This has been such a great franchise under Bill DeWitt. He's 83 years old. And again, I realize that they've made a lot of money, and I realize that it's his fault that they let their motto kind of get old and moldy and covered with barnacles and all that stuff. But there's part of me that also who has, it's like, wait a minute, can we talk big picture? We all agree the last few years have been very disappointing, but can we talk big picture? And since he's been the owner, my God, they're fourth in the majors in winning percentage. They've won more playoff games than any team in the National League. They, 4 pennants, 2 World Series. They've had, I believe, I won't say, I know at one point they had the most home wins in the postseason for a long, long time. And, and during his time as owner, they've won 18 postseason rounds and a wild card. And think about all the Hall of Fame players. Think about all the great players, all the all-stars. I mean, just this cavalcade of stars. And I understand being upset with the last few years, but does the stuff that came before that, does that not count anymore? Like, that's in the past. We don't care about that. See, I'm not wired that way. I really appreciate the overall track record of Bill DeWitt Jr. as the owner of the St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, it is a superb overall record, even with the last several years of major disappointment. It is still an overall wonderful record. So I can't lose sight of that. But I thought he won the day, so to speak, because he may have been a little surprised. I agree with you, but then he took, he walked calmly over to the line, and he was smiling and welcoming all the players and shaking hands with the red jackets, and he was happy. So it was okay. But I just, I know I get pounded for saying this stuff. I don't know why, because the record is the record and it's awfully good. But I just wanted to kind of weigh in on that a little bit. That's all.
Yeah,
but fans have the right to boo. Yeah, I'm sorry. They have the right to boo. I'm not questioning that at all. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I mean, it surprised me a little bit just because of what we said. It doesn't happen with Mo, we've heard it a little bit more since 2023, but this was, to me, the loudest the reaction has been in a not positive way for the DeWitt family. But I've really enjoyed the fan reaction throughout the game and throughout the series, and the crowds on Saturday and Sunday. Yes, I know there's weather permitting. They weren't the liveliest of crowds. There were plenty of empty sections, as we thought would happen at Busch Stadium. But the fans that showed up, and again, if you're not coming to Cardinals games because you're mad about the team or upset about the direction, I get it. That's your right. And I'm never going to say how to spend your money. But I said this multiple times on the show, and I believe it. And I think we saw it a little bit today. If you give the Cardinals fans a good product, they will support the team. And we saw 3 great Cardinal baseball games over the weekend. And Bernie, it was honestly some of the most fun I've had at work in a long time. And I know it's only 3 games. We still have 159 to go. And, who knows if the Twins are good or bad? Who knows if the Cardinals are good or bad? But I am really excited to get into the differences that we saw with this team. But first, to do that, let's hear from our friends at FanDuel Sports Network. You can now stream the St. Louis Cardinals games through FanDuel Sports Network. And if you use the promo code BASEBALL30, you can start it off with a 30-day extended free trial at FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages. This expires May 2nd, 2025. It's $19.99 a month after free trial. Cancel during the free trial to avoid charges. Eligibility restrictions apply. Visit FanDuelSportsNetwork.com for details. I streamed the game on this when MLB TV went out to start the season. That's what you want from your company. And it was great to hear my friends Chip Carey, Brad Thompson, Jim Hayes, Alexa Datt, Ricky Horton, and the squad just being able to stream Cardinals baseball. It is about time. Let's talk about some Cardinals baseball, if you will. Over the last 3 games, 19 runs, 30 hits, 5 homers. Bernie, who are these guys?
And then the other thing, their big curse last year, 229 batting average of runners in scoring position, which just killed the offense. And so this series, they'd hit 323, and they were hitting for power as well with runners in scoring position. So all the things we hated about this team, not literally, all the teams that kind of hated about the Cardinals. Oh, you got to watch this again. You know, it was all of a sudden bright, sunshiny day, even though it wasn't literally. No, I was just impressed. Listen, the lineup that Ali Marmol set up at the top and at the bottom worked very, very well, very, very well. And you know, I know that Contreras and Wynn had hitless series. So what? I think they're going to be fine. But they got. I was wondering about the middle of the lineup, and actually, that worked out well too. With Arenado in the cleanup spot, Burleson had some big moments. Both catchers hit well in that series, and then Jordan Walker had some really good at bats.
Yes, he did.
And the whole team had great at bats. And then it rolls into the bottom of the lineup where, you know, it's exciting to have Wynn and Victor Scott down there. Victor Scott and Wynn down there, I should say, because Wynn will be fine. And, you know, Victor Scott had a really good series. So he proved that he belonged. There's no doubt about it already. You can tell they made the right decision. So there was a lot to like about this offense. I mean, they've seen in the 3 games, they really worked those Twins pitchers into, I don't know if it's exhaustion, but they tired them out. And the Cardinals, like in the series, they averaged like around 4.1, 4.2 pitches per plate appearance, which is really, really good. And it was like a whole new approach. And I don't know, Katie, we can talk about that too. I mean, it seems like whatever they're preaching to the players got the message.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been hearing all spring about new hitting coach Brant Brown and his message and his approach. And I think the offensive output for the last 3 games can be broken into 2 things. It can be broken into the lineup construction with Ollie Marmol, and we'll get to that. But it can also be put into the team-wide approach. Just some quotes from Ollie Marmol today after the game. I asked him about, you know, what he liked, what really surprised him, what impressed him. And he hit me with this one, which I thought was a great quote, if I could find it. He said, "Every at-bat is a damn dogfight. Every pitch is important. Every inning is its own game within a game, and you can see it. We score a couple of runs, and the next inning, we're starting from scratch." He said each inning is like its own game, and you can see that with the competitive at-bats. What I like about this, the approach that Brant Brown is teaching, we're going to hear this quote a lot. There's a time to hit and there's a time to slug. And the Cardinals really bought into that over the last 3 days. They had 5 homers, but they did some really nice situational hitting to put runners in scoring position. And already they're doing a much better job. We know that they did not do such a good job with runners in scoring position last year, the worst team in the National League at that. But what I really liked about this is the way that the lineup is constructed allows players to know if they're going to hit or if they're going to slug and what their roles are. So this lineup is going to change a little bit, especially with the Angels coming up. They're going to throw 2 lefties in there, so it's going to vary. But based off what we saw, 3 guys at the top of the order that I think are going to remain that way regardless of handedness. 90% of the time, I think we're going to see Nootbaar 1, Contreras 2, Donovan 3. Those guys are high on base guys. They work deep counts, and they have a little bit of everything, right? They're not just strictly, you know, singles hitters. They have some slug in them too. So they're versatile, but their biggest traits that they get on base. Then you have the guys that can swing it. Nolan Arenado, he looks great. He looks like a very convinced Nolan Arenado, very motivated. Burleson behind him, you're going to get some version of Herrera, Gorman, and Walker after that, just depending on the day. Those guys can swing. They can do damage. And then, like we talked about on prior episodes, you have the speed with Victor Scott II, stole 3 bags over the series, and then Mason Wynn. I know he's scuffling right now, but he's going to get it. And you're already seeing how that speed plays and turns it over to the top of the lineup. I talked to a number of players over the weekend on what they were seeing from the lineup. Nolan Gorman, great game Sunday. Nothing like your first start and going 3 for 4 with the home run. He called Nootbaar like the snowball effect. He says with speed at the bottom of the lineup and those guys being able to turn the lineup over to the guys getting on base, it's a recipe for success, but it really starts with Nootbaar setting the tone. Nolan Arenado had a lot of good things to say. Said Lars Nootbaar works pitches. He sees a lot of pitches. Wilson does the same thing. Then Donovan. And then after that, we have guys that swing it. Nolan said, "I love the way our lineup works." And I think Cardinals fans are loving it as well, because when you combine that approach that Brant Brown is teaching, know your role, know when to hit, know when to slug, and then a lineup that's constructed that allows these guys to prosper in those roles, you get an offensive outcome like we saw the last 3 days.
Yeah, they took those at bats on their terms. And we haven't seen that, you know, we certainly didn't see that last season. Like, and I'm not trying to pick on Nolan Gorman. He just sort of personified the problem.
Sure.
it was true of a lot of their guys, even their good hitters. They took too many called strikes and they chased too many out of the zone. Like if you look at Burleson's numbers, and we all know he's a great contact hitter, but there were some pitches he just had. There was no reason to chase him, even though he made contact. His numbers were terrible when he did, but when he hit strikes, his numbers were awesome. And that's generally true of all hitters. But that team, I was so frustrated watching them just take lousy at bats. And so there was never, you know this better than I do, there was never any kind of universal approach. There was never any kind of philosophy for situational hitting, as you mentioned. It was just kind of like, and I joked about it on the videos that I do, it was just like, go on up there and hit the ball hard, boys. You know, it's just, you know, there just was no plan. There was no, like, where you go to spring training and we all know the players are drilling physically and all that, but they really needed a mental reset. There's that word, but they did in terms of their approach to hitting. And it's 3 games, but man, it would look like a different product. There were so many great at bats. And I think, it's one thing if we look at that and we think like, well, they had a good weekend, it's kind of fluky, whatever. Not that we expect them to average 6.3 runs per game, which they did in this series. But if your quality at bats is at a high level and you can be consistent about that, you're going to have slumps, you're going to have bad days. But if you can just make sure to take care of the quality of those at bats, your offense will be good. It'll be much better than it has been. And that was a really uplifting thing to watch if you're a Cardinals fan. It's like, well, who are these guys? They had a plan up there. Oh, they had a 2-strike approach. Wow. This is new, that kind of thing. I really, I was struck by that. I was.
And you can see it. I mean, when you're looking at, Lars Nootbaar said this, he pointed out, he was like, yeah, I really like what we're doing at the top of the lineup, but what's really cool is to see later in the lineup, Ivan Herrera working the counts. Jordan Walker took some great at-bats this series. I mean, those pitches low outside of the zone got him every single time. And it's really hard to break those habits, but it looks good. And I know that there's going to be an emphasis on getting the ball in the air. I know that, but baby steps. I thought the at-bats that Walker took looked much better. It seems like these guys not only understand their approach, but they're convicted in it. And it's a different sense of confidence. You got last season, Cardinals had runners in scoring position, and you could feel like the weight on the shoulders collectively from the dugout, from the individual hitter, like we have to cash in right now. And now I feel like guys go up there, and I was surprised when the Cardinals did not score with runners in scoring position. And it's like the exact opposite. I was surprised when they did last year. I was like, oh, this is new. But now, just based on their bats, how confident they look, how they're approaching each sequence, I'm like, yeah, this is a team that's really unlocked something. And, we'll see how this looks. Cardinals will get a big test. To me, we will see if the offense is truly fixed on Tuesday, because Kyle Hendricks is supposed to pitch for the Angels against the Cardinals. Can't escape him. And as Cardinals fans know, Kyle Hendricks is like freaking Cy Young against them. So that'll be a good test. But all things considered, those twin starters are Pablo Lopez. He's a great arm. Joe Ryan. I know Bailey Ober did not have a good day. I think I saw from one of the Twins writers that he's sick or something. But those are good arms, and the Cardinals just carved them up, and it was really fun to watch. I really think that we are seeing a different lineup. I'm wondering how Ollie is going to continue working the at-bats in. This was, I believe, a pre-scheduled day off for Jordan Walker because his swing doesn't really match up well with Bailey Ober's pitching arsenal. And that's going to be something, obviously, that managers are always thinking about. But for Ollie in particular, he went into detail, and I hope to get into more on this on The Athletic soon. He's planning a week ahead. So the Twins, the Twin series lineup, that's done. That's been done. And the Angels lineup is done. He's looking at planning in Boston so he can look at, probable starters, working his at-bats, who profiles well. Does Nolan Gorman profile well against the starter? Is this a good way to put him in? Angels have 2 lefties coming up, so we got to get Luke and Baker in there, which means Nolan Gorman needs to play at some point because he's probably not going to play against the lefties. And it's like a fascinating Rubik's Cube jigsaw puzzle of sorts. And it's not easy. And I know every day we'll get a lineup and we'll publish it, and you'll expect to see some guys in there, and you'll be like, well, why is Walker sitting? Or why is Gorman out again? When's Baker going to get in there? These are all things that the staff is working on. But how fun is it, Bernie, when you have tough choices to make because everyone seems to be hitting and locked in and not the other way around, which is what I think Ollie Marmol had a lot of struggles with last year.
Well, as usual, you nailed it. That's the point. last year so many times it's like, well, who's going to hit? Can anybody hit? And it's just like, no disrespect to Paul Goldschmidt, Hall of Famer, but he was in the 2-hole way too long. And, bless him, but he was just having, by his standards, a really miserable year and nothing changed. Goldie in the 2-hole. And there weren't enough options when you had, Gorman just having his year and Walker having his year and some other things going on. I mean, Newt Bar being hurt. It's like they weren't enough options. So having tough choices where you're going to be putting a good hitter or two on the bench every day, that's a positive thing. It really is. And so we have to kind of remember that. I think Ollie's actually done a really good job putting this together. I think he's got more information now from the front office in terms of some finer point info data on opposing pitchers and the strengths or weaknesses of each hitter based on who that opposing pitcher is. So they got some good things going on behind the scenes as well. But I just like the complete nature of the entire 3 games. I mean, the run prevention was terrific. The 3 starters did a really nice job.
Okay.
Fetty was fantastic. Palante really fought through some things. He also got some swing and miss today too. And then the bullpen was just fantastic. So, they end up outscoring the Twins, 19-6. And that's an indication of how thorough their domination was in this series anyway. The defense was fantastic. I like the way Ollie, you could tell, like we could tell him in the first game, the way he's going to play it if he has a late inning lead where he looks for the right moment, not just to put Ciani in there, but also to get Pages in there. Mm-hmm. And just move some pieces around to where he has his best defensive alignment out there for the last couple of innings. Now, he may not be able to do that every single time, but Ollie was really sharp. I mean, he had a plan, and he had plans for any type of scenario, and it looked good. He had a really good series. Now, again, got 159 to go, so we'll see. But I thought it was really, really important for the Cardinals to get off to a good start for many, many, many reasons. Business at the box office, right? Keep giving their fans something, a little bit of a wow factor, but also just the Cardinals last season got off to a terrible start at home. They lost, right? Remember that White Sox series?
I unfortunately do remember the White Sox series.
So they lost 4 out of their first 6 series at home, and their record in those series was 6-11, and that put them in a hole. And they were trying to climb their way out of that for a long time, and they could get to 500, and then they stayed at 500. And that's why, the people that are already saying, well, it's early, it's early, let's calm down time. No, first of all, and I'm talking about fans. I'm sticking up for them. They shouldn't. Why should they have to calm down? They saw great baseball for 3 games, and they saw the Cardinals.
Yeah, a long time here.
Yeah, I mean, so you saw a team. You wanted a team that would look different, play different, think different, perform different. You saw it at least for 3 games, so it got your attention. So I don't like all these, people out there. Just, it's only 1 series. Yeah, So what? And then what would have happened if they would have lost 3 or lost 2 out of 3? Then
it would have happened. My Twitter mentions would be a disaster.
Exactly. So when you had such a terrible start at home last season, and that put you in a deficit position you never really could overcome, it's really important for this team. And by the way, the Angels series is another test, but it's really important for this team to get off to play winning baseball, especially at home. And if they come out against the Angels and they lose 2 out of 3, they lose the series, then all of our happy talk, which is well-founded based on the 3 games we just saw, all that happy talk, the volume on that will be turned down a lot. So they got to go out and take care of business. That's the thing. No one's going to take them totally seriously, including nationally. And I understand, unless they do this, not necessarily a sweep, but unless they do this over and over and over and over again. It's like Tony La Russa. I could quote his most repetitive statements. They're like embedded in my brain. he'd talk about, boy, Tony, your team's hot. He says, like, we just, all we got to do is win series. It's the only thing that matters. Win series. You keep winning series, you're gonna have a really good year. Just win series. Don't worry about, we failed it. We didn't get a sweep there. We could have just win the series. Win the series. Stack them up. And it's true. It's really true. Win series. And so they got their season off to a good start by doing that. Now they got to do it again against a team that's not very good.
Correct. Winning teams win series. That's something that we all know. We've heard so many times. And St. Louis Cardinals did what they were supposed to do this weekend, took care of business against the Twins. I agree with you. They absolutely should take the series against the Angels. Some tough pitching. I don't want to diminish that. Tyler Anderson's a good arm. Kikuchi, obviously, that's a big signing for them. And we all know about Kyle Hendricks. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I agree. I do.
No, I can't help. I got to get a little, what's the word? I don't know. I'm maybe being a jerk. Okay.
That's fine.
So everything's rolling really nice. And then it's like, oh, here he comes, Miles Miklasz. So
Miles Miklasz.
Yeah. So I hope, and I'm being sincere, because everybody's so down on him. It would be kind of funny if he comes out and pitches this great game. But if they win 3 in a row and he comes out and it's kind of one of those starts by him, that'll definitely kill the buzz, right?
That will create a different kind of buzz for me. And here's the thing. I like Miles. He's been nothing but kind to me and just a total pro in the now 5 years that we've worked together. I found it so funny that in spring, Miles Miklasz and Steven Matz, Michael McGreevy too, but of the starters that we knew were going to make the team, looked by far the best. And fans were out. And Matz, by the way, was fantastic today. 4 innings, 1 hit ball, picked up his first career save. First of all, I didn't really register that he was able to notch a save for me until the 9th inning, where I was like, wait a second. I was doing the math and I was like, wait, is he going to pick up the save here? So we'll see. We'll see about Miles. I understand fan frustration. I think that's warranted after you have the 2 disappointing seasons that he has. But hey, everyone else has stepped up. We're about positive vibes this week on Cardinal Territory. So we'll see. But yeah, Bernie, I think just from a personal standpoint, I really enjoyed being at the ballpark this weekend. Spring training was long. I'm kind of going through it. And I was joking to my family and friends after Thursday's game. I was like, I enjoyed opening day so much. I think that baseball game just cured my depression. And while it was a slight joke, I really just feel like a different energy covering this team right now because, I feed off the fans. I work for the fans, essentially. And you know this well as your many, many years as a sports writer. It's so much more fun. And while I don't have a rooting interest in the team, that's not my job, nor can it be. Delivering fun stories to the fans is so much more rewarding and fun for me because I feel like we're just building more camaraderie and we're experiencing this together. And I had so much fun just this whole series. Like, hey, who are these guys? What's going on? Is this the St. Louis Cardinals team that we know and sometimes love if we're fans? So that was exciting for me.
No, I hear you. I do.
It was just really fun to be back at the ballpark.
And I've been doing this for so long. I'm almost like, when I mention how long I've been doing this, I'm kind of like, oh man, have we looked at those cemetery plots?
No,
I'm only kidding. I'm interjecting some like twisted self-deprecation there. So anyway, but no, I've been around here doing this a long time, and I that's why I truly loved what you just said, and I give you 100% approval on that because our jobs are misunderstood, and that's okay. But my great memories and the things that I have cherished over the last 40 some years doing this, it's all about successful teams and great players and great performances. And whether it be the old dome with the greatest show on turf Rams, when the Blues won the Stanley Cup in 2019, all the great Cardinals teams, all the Hall of Famers, and all the history that's on display all the time. It made you feel great to walk into the stadium. It made you feel great to sit in the press box. It made you feel great to be able to tell the stories, to kind of capture the moments. I mean, the night of Game 6 of the 2011 World Series, thank goodness for, online journalism at that time. I was in the press box because I knew that I couldn't sum this up like in terms for like a print edition. It just was no time. I sat in that press box. I was so keyed up after that game. and I just kept writing and writing and writing because I'm like, no, the fans who they deserve the best I can give them, because I'm excited. I want them to share my excitement. We all share in it together. And I left the press box that night at like 3:45 in the morning because I was just determined to write a piece that would just kind of rise to the moment of what we just observed, right? So, I'm glad. See, you prompted me to just give a testimonial here, but no, I'm totally in sync with you on that stuff. I mean, I never got into this business to cover failure. I got in this business to cover all the great things I've been blessed to cover. The Joe Montana, Michael Jordan, Olympics. I mean, I can't even tell you how many great things I've witnessed, and that's why I as a little kid, that's why I wanted to do this for a living. Not to be miserable, right? So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I didn't take the St. Louis Cardinals job for mediocre baseball. That was not what was one of the decision makers in my mind. It was, wow, this is such a historic franchise with a passionate fan base and a high expectation for winning. I mean, I would have gone anywhere, don't get me wrong. I was 24, fresh out of college and didn't have a job. But to have the St. Louis Cardinals and to get that assignment as my first major league beat, I mean, it goes to everything you just said. You do it because of the success stories. I love sharing it with fans. I think it makes us closer. My favorite night at work was Albert Pujols hitting 700. And I actually remember my first gut feeling was, oh shit, I have to make sure the story is good. I have to make sure this story is good. So he's like circling the bases and I'm watching Albert take it all in and I'm trying to like capture the scene for the story. But there's like this pit in my stomach, like, you cannot mess this up. This is the most important story for the Cardinals in years. You better make sure that story delivers. And I actually did not fall asleep. I filed the story obviously quickly, but I didn't fall asleep that night until 5 a.m. because I was just so overwhelmed by the opportunity of being there in that moment and having the privilege to share that with fans and share that connection and be a part of baseball history in my own small way. So I don't know. I think I got a little sentimental this weekend just because I was back and sharing baseball with all you sickos out there. And it's just really fun to 5 years in have a community established here. St. Louis, man, you guys are different.
Hey, Albert Pujols caused me many a sleepless nights, but in a good way that you just referred to. The Brad Lidge home run, also that 3 home run World Series game, where he just, I know we're not doing like go down memory lane on this, but I remember Pujols got into like media was all mad at him because he didn't show up to talk after game 2. The Cardinals lost in the off day. And so this was big national people ripping him and everything. It's just unprofessional. He needed to show up. And I told Joe Buck, I said, you've been watching him. I said, and he came out and he was kind of testy before on the off day. And I remember talking to Joe Buck around the cage and I said, you know it. And I know it. This guy is going to go off because some people, when they're mad, it works against them. Pujols always channeled that to just where, you all better just stand down. You have no idea and that's what he did on that Saturday night game. That was so anyway. Yeah, but again, see, you and I are on totally the same wavelength. I mean, that's why even at my age, as long as I've been doing this, those moments still really matter to me. They're so great, and you just want more and more and more in them. Some people seem to think that when it's negative, it's better. The media likes the negative stuff. Hey, I know all those years of the Post-Dispatch, whether in print sales and also online traffic, through the roof when the team was good, through the roof, right? And I'm sure you're finding out the same thing you found because you've had both experiences, good and bad, with the Cardinals. So anyway, yeah, gosh, I love your attitude. Yeah, I do. It reminds me of somebody. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I cut you off.
No, you're all good, Bernie. I say this a lot, but I feel like we resonate with each other and how fun. Sure. This is another thing I just like about sports media. And I promise we're going to get back to the Cardinals. Just the connections that you make online. It's been, I don't think I have a platform. I know I don't have a platform or a career without the online social media, whether it's Twitter, YouTube, The Athletic. So I'm very grateful. And another thing I was very grateful for was this moment, because baseball is about cool moments here. So let's walk through what my favorite moment of the Cardinals series was, and there were a lot. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
There we go. Almost there. Oh yeah, I did it right. Oh, I'm on it. Let's talk about our star of the series presented by FanDuel Sports Network, our player to watch, if you will. So I had a hard time choosing one player. Could have gone Lars Nootbaar, could have gone Victor Scott II. But this moment right here, Nolan Arenado, bottom of the eighth, Cardinals up 4-3, home opener, turns on 98 high and
The chest thump, hitting his heart,
mm-hmm.
sending it to the fans. That show of emotion was just really, really strong stuff. And you look at him and you're like, he's been so tormented here the last couple of years. He puts himself into a state of torment because he's so intense. He hates failure, his own failure. He hates the team failure. And there is a spirit there that's just wants to get out, not to get out of St. Louis. Obviously, he had a chance and he said no.
He's had multiple chances. He's still here.
Right. But there's a spirit in him that just wants to be released. It wants to be released. And this happy man, this positive energy guy, that whole series, he looked like that guy. And you just hope that stays for his sake, the team's sake, the fans' sake. You hope that stays, that spirit. He just wants that positive energy pouring out of him. You hope that stays. It can't happen every day, but like just so to speak, week after week after week after week, it'll be a much better team. It'll be a much happier team. And can I ask you a question about that? I don't. Yeah. I know you probably want to wrap it up, but I always like to ask you questions, which is, the Nootbaar and Arenado relationship is obviously a really strong one because they're boys in SoCal during the off season working out together and stuff. But how much do you think the young players, now that Goldie's gone, and by the way, I'm not blaming Goldie for anything, but I'm just saying the dynamics have changed. Do you sense that he is the young players and their vibe and their energy and the fun they're having? Do you think that has rubbed off him in any way?
I think he's learning to embrace it. I think he came into 2025 understanding like, hey, this was a very wild off season. Thought I wasn't going to be here. I still am. The optics are much different. The expectations are much different from when I first was traded here, from when I decided to opt back in. And there's no use pouting about it. So I'm going to let these kids teach me how to relax a little bit. And like you said, Nolan Arenado doesn't relax. He's not one of the best in the game, the third baseman of this generation, because he relaxes. All right. This dude is taking practice hacks at like 2 a.m. in his hotel room. His teammates will tell me. And I think what he's done is he's learned like, hey, you know what? I can't control what this team is doing, but I can control how I'm reacting to things, and I can control playing loose, and I can control whether or not I'm a better baseball player. And I thought Thursday's moment was so healing for him. And I'm not sure that's a word he would ever use, but maybe this is like the emotional woman in me, because I've never seen him. He's not like a flashy guy. There's no ego there, really. He's always very respectful in interviews. But for him to get that curtain call and put the hand to the ear, Sally, like, I want to hear more of it. Like, let me hear you. That was so cool. Like, that celebration went hard for me. I think he needed that from the fans. And I think that's helped him realize, hey, guess what? They still want me here. Things did not go the way that I thought it was going to go, or the team thought it was going to go, but this city still wants me here. And this city still knows I have a lot left to prove. And I think he needed that. So you combine the fan reception with guys like, Nootbaar, obviously. He's very tight with Pedro Pages, Mike Ciani, just that group keeping him young. I know him and Mason have a nice relationship on that side of the infield. I think that's really going to help him. And I'm excited to see what Nolan Arenado does this year. I think it could be a big year for him.
And I would, and I'll be very quick with this, my because you nailed the right choice there, but I would go with Lars Nootbaar as my MVP, because he's simply, Ali Marmol did the right thing by putting him at the top of the lineup. And the very first at bat, he set the tone for that whole series, and he kept setting the tone over and over and over again, including defensively as well. And I know we're not going 3 deep here, but I would give the bronze medal to Victor Scott. I thought,
man, what a fun series.
Yeah.
What a fun series for Victor. Talk about a game changer with that speed and you know, the situational hitting, and then all of a sudden the 3-run jack.
That catch in game 1 saved the game, you know.
And you know what, Bernie? That's not I was talking to Ollie Marmol about this with other reporters. I'm not sure if that's a catch that Victor Scott makes last year. I mean, you could tell the work that he's been putting in with John Jay. If you look back and you look at the metrics and you watched it in real time, I knew he was going to get there because of his jump. The first step, jump quickness, the route efficiency. And good players make that catch regardless. Great players make that catch on their feet. He got there on his feet. He didn't lay out. He didn't have to because he had such a good read on it. He had good initial reactions, great speed, obviously. He's worked his butt off to be able to make those plays. And that saved a run, potentially saved the game. And it was really great to see for Victor. So I think our podium is pretty stacked.
No doubt. And the whole team collectively just put on a great show in those 3 games. They never trailed. I mean, they were tied for a few innings. I think it was like 4 innings. Maybe they were tied the whole series. Never trailed. I mean, and even when they were tied, it's like there was no panic, no freak out. They just kept, maintained that focus that we both addressed. And it was just good stuff. It was just really, really good stuff. And it leaves you wanting more. And that's a positive thing,
And luckily for us, we have 159 more to go, including tomorrow for a 3-game set against the Los Angeles Angels. Bernie, any closing thoughts before we call it a night?
No, I'm good. I mean, I think we covered it all. I just think I would just listen, man. It's what I think doesn't matter, but I can relate to people that were sort of predicting, gloom and doom for the Cardinals. Okay. There was every reason in the world to think it was not going to be much of a season. And by the way, maybe it'll turn out that it won't be, but I'm challenging people, or maybe I'm encouraging people, that if you were really down on this team, you were down on all these players, and you saw, well, this guy will never stay healthy. This guy's not going to hit. This guy's not going to do that. It's okay to have those opinions. I've had a lot of them myself, but it's like, if they come out and they're different than you thought they were, and that's individual players, the team as a whole, embrace it, enjoy it, have fun with it. This is why we all love sports, right? This is why we all have a favorite team. So don't do what like sports writers do. Some sports writers do when they make a prediction and a team's going to be bad or whatever, and then the team's a lot better than the prediction. It's almost like the writers take it personally. Right. They're like nasty about it. There is like doing the but thing. No, embrace it, enjoy it. The players don't own the team. The players aren't John Mozeliak. The players are trying to do their best for the fans. So when they're giving you a great show, embrace it, enjoy it, be happy. If they don't, then you can fuss. Then you can raise hell. That's fine too, right? But when there's good times, because it's been a tough couple of years, when there's good times, just roll with it and laugh and enjoy it. Otherwise, I don't know what the point is.
Exactly. It's a long summer. Might as well enjoy it. I know I enjoyed this last weekend. I'm hoping that we have a lot more fun over the course of the next 6 months. But that's the beauty of baseball. You just never know. St. Louis Cardinals back in action against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I just wish they'd go by Anaheim, but maybe that's the California in me. I get to see Mike Trout play in person, which is something I've only seen one time, and I may or may not have been overserved at an Oakland A's game, so I don't really remember it. I'm really excited for this. And on that note, let's wrap it up, Bernie.
Okay,
great
sure.
weekend for the St. Louis Cardinals, 3-0. Who would have thought? Back in action at Busch Stadium tomorrow night. For Bernie Miklasz, I'm Katie Woo. This is Cardinal Territory. We will talk to you next week.